All right, hello everybody. I have Carl with me today. Carl, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm on a business trip, so we have a nice quiet atmosphere to talk in.
Good, good. So, Carl, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about yourself?
Well, I'm 66. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and my background is fine art, even though I work in the technology field. Don't ask me how that happened. It's a long story. Um, and as our topic today, I grew up as the big kid. I was always the biggest kid in class. I was the one that was way bigger than everyone else, and it took till I was about my 30s until I first discovered like Dr. Atkins type lifestyle, and it works really well for me. I'm an expert on relapse. I've lost over 100 pounds 4 times in my adult life, so
Wow.
I understand how easy it is and how addictive things can be, and how easy it is to kind of fall away. I think a lot of it depends on your personality and my personal personality. We can talk about that as far as like you make one mistake and it's like all over, and how addictive I've learned that foods can be. So I pretty much follow keto carnivore now. I've done it several times. Always works. Always proves to me every single time. It's like this is the way to be. And then you have a bad week, a bad weekend, and all of a sudden you're like, there's the 80 pounds back or whatever it is. So yeah, I
Mm.
I currently live on the East Coast in Maryland, and I'm a travel technician for a document copier handling company, and I do a lot of traveling. So that's another challenge sometimes. But I learned to
Mm.
bring. Literally, I'm here tonight in my hotel. I have like 2 dozen eggs. I have chicken thighs. I have things that I know that will keep me on track. And sometimes I just don't feel like leaving the hotel. So
Yeah. So, four different times that you've lost over 100 pounds, you said. Wow.
yeah, then like
That's
20.
incredible that you could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. In my 20s, I was like, I think the highest I was ever back then was like 254. I'm only 5'8", so I should be carrying about 150, 160 pounds, realistically, or ideally anyway. And I was at 254, went down, lost like 109 pounds, and then I got up to like 261. And then I went back down to like 150 pounds, and then I got to 289. Then I went back down. And it's always like 1 year to lose, and like 4 or 5 years to get it all back again. So yeah,
Mm. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is like, how quickly do you gain it back? So, it's usually like 4 to 5 years of kind of falling
exactly.
off what you were doing, and then it comes back at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, obviously you're still burning, but it's what you're eating. Obviously, it's more than how much you're eating. But yeah,
Mm.
it's taught me how addictive processed foods and sugar are. I mean, to me, sugar is like crack, and the only way I can do it successfully is to total abstinence. Like I tell everybody, it's like being a drug addict. I have to totally abstain, and I've actually gotten myself to the point where I don't do artificial sweeteners either because it's the sweet taste that to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of people say that's too much to give up, obviously, and there's ways around it maybe. But for me personally, that's how I deal with it. I totally abstain from the taste of sweet. And of course, everything I read about, even artificial sweeteners still causing an insulin response in your system. And of course, the insulin's got to go somewhere. So it just doesn't seem worth it to me. And people call me the carb guru, or worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so this last time that you've lost 100 pounds, how long has it been since you've lost that you've been able to keep it off for?
Yeah, the good news is this time it's been like 2.5 years, so it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I
All right.
I think it's like I have to get past that 2 month, 3 month mark to where I say, okay, I'm cool. This is fine. No more cravings. And
Yeah.
everyone says 3 weeks of anything you can build a habit. So yeah, so somebody always probably used to say, like I drink coffee, like that's my drug of choice, and I still drink coffee, and I use heavy cream and no sweetener, but I always said, drink it black for 3 weeks and you'll never drink it any other way. And so like I can't get past 3 days. So
Yeah. Um, So you talked a little bit about weight loss. Has there been any health related reasons
Oh yeah,
for
yeah.
trying to lose the weight to begin with?
Yeah, I was on high blood pressure medicine. Actually, it had gone up over the years, so I was on a low dose all the way up to a medium to a high dose. I had hateful reflux. I was taking Prilosec, like Tic Tacs, every day. Could not go to bed without getting reflux. The thing that really bothered me the most, in the last two times, was the sleep apnea. When I'd wake myself up gasping for air, that's when it really kind of like flipped the switch for me because that was a scary one. Also, I had plantar fascia in my heels. I was on a low level thyroid drug, and that's gone away. I'm 66. I take absolutely zero medications. I take supplements. I do a multi in magnesium and potassium and some things like that. And of course, I use salt liberally because I don't retain any of it. And so that's the only pills I take, but they're all supplemental. And through nutrition or through supplementation, I don't do. I'm off of all prescription drugs.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's talk about the sleep apnea a little bit. You
Mm.
said that you had it and like the last two times, right? You've basically
Right.
gotten rid of it. So how did that work? Like how quickly did you get rid of it? And then how quickly did it come back when you kind of fell off the bandwagon, that kind of stuff?
It was Yeah. I almost got it down to a size for me. Like I said, I'm 5'8", and so I'm kind of a little, I guess, average or maybe a hair below. And when I hit like 190 was the magic mark for me. After that, I it would start, and it never got. My spouse actually has sleep apnea and is still working on. I'm still trying to push the process there, but actually wears a CPAP, and I have a deviated septum, so I could never breathe through my nose anyway. So CPAP would just that probably die. And so there was like, and everybody I noticed it was at a certain weight. As if I got above 190, pushing two, I would see it appear. And of course, as I got heavier, it would be more and more. But that one really bothered me because I would actually sleep and wake up with a headache getting out of bed in the morning. And
Mm,
probably because of that, that's the only reason, that's the only reasonable thing I could think was causing it. So that
yeah.
was, even a high blood pressure, like, I take meds, but yeah, that one really bothered me. I think that was like the scary one for me. Yeah. And I have a history of other problems. I have a 30-year history of kidney stones. I've had like 35 kidney stones in my life. So now that I avoid foods with oxalates, which is some of your best veggies supposedly are super high in oxalate. I love nuts, and of course they're high in oxalates. Chocolate high in oxalates. So at one point I was drinking. I got rid of the sugar, and I was like eating like almonds and drinking iced tea for as something more healthy to eat. And here I was like just drowning myself in oxalates and feeding my kidney stones. So,
Hmm.
and that's about two.
Yeah.
The last two I had to have like surgery on, and like I can tell you some. I can make every man cringe telling my stories about kidney stones. Yeah, especially the surgery that goes on. So,
Yeah.
so you get to a point where you're like, no, this is definitely not worth going back for.
Right. Okay. Um, so with the high blood pressure, let's talk about that a little bit.
Mhm.
How long after changing your diet and eating this way do you think it took before you really started to notice a difference? And then how much after that were you able to get off the medication?
Um, I would say that took several months for sure, maybe even up to 6. I mean, I was on pretty heavy dose. So, I was taking a lighter dose, and then, of course, things were still edging up. So I'd get, heavier dose. No one ever tells you, like, hey, maybe I'm going to check what you're eating. But I have a great story about this because um, when I was losing weight, I was on the higher dose that I was on. So I'm just taking them still and losing weight and taking them still and losing weight. All of a sudden, I'm getting these heart palpitations, right? I mean, to the point where it was like really
Mm.
bothering me. So I go to my MD, my GP, and he says, "Well, we need to send you to a cardiologist." So I go to a cardiologist, and of course, the only thing a cardiologist says, like, "Oh, your cholesterol's high. Maybe we need to put you on a statin." neither my GP or the cardiologist. I want to have a scan, and the technician goes like, "Do you know your blood pressure is like like 80 over whatever?" It's like it was so low. No one thought to cut my medication back. My blood pressure was so
Mm.
low, and I went home, broke my blood pressure medicine in half, and I was right as rain in 3 days. No
Wow.
palpitation. So there was some money wasted, but yeah. So the only thing the cardiologist said was, "Yeah, we need to put you on a statin." That was it.
Of course.
Nothing about checking my meds. Not a thing. So lesson learned.
Yeah.
So that was another
I'm
scare. So, like, okay, what's going on? Because my father died. Granted, my father was a heavy drinker, heavy smoker. He died at 50 when I was a kid, and of course I
mm,
already outlived him by 16 years. But he died from like his third heart attack. So obviously, having that history, I was like, yeah, I better get this checked. But yeah, that's all it was. It was just over medicated.
yeah. I'm surprised that they didn't pay attention to the blood pressure. That's something.
I know it's like like I said, lesson learned. But yeah, so thank God for the technician, right? Because the technicians are like, "Oh, your blood sugar is really low."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that was it. That's all I did. I kind of self-medicated again. I went home, broke them in half, which obviously half my dose. And within a few days, like no more palpitations. So and of course,
Yeah.
then I just eventually weaned off them totally. So
Yeah, and you said that was, like, about 6 months to get all
I
the way
think
off?
I think so, but with that event, I really can't remember. But I would think, yeah, I'm sure
Mm.
it was a few months before I, actually started getting to too low a blood pressure. So,
Mhm.
but I was still on bed, so I really can't say, if we would have just slowly weaned them off, if people were paying attention to my blood pressure,
Right.
how long it would have took. But I would imagine it would have been a few months for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your eating.
Mhm.
How would a typical day for you go for eating?
Well, now this is how I evolved. I went, keto, low carb keto for a while, and then I started doing a 16/8 2 meal a day deal. And with my job, I travel a lot, so I have a lot of. I kind of create my own schedule during the day in a way. And so I was doing like a 10 a.m., 6 o'clock meal, 2 meals a day, all protein carbs, meats and eggs and cheese. I do two cheeses, and good cheeses, not like processed American cheese and stuff.
Mhm.
And so I would eat at 10 and I would eat around 6, depending on, within an hour or so of my day. And sorry, I got noises in my hotel. Um, and eventually I evolved to now I'm doing 1 meal a day and it works great for me. Yeah. And so my meals look like the ones you post. Yeah. I
Okay.
do a lot of eggs, a lot of beef. Of course, I'll do any meat, seafood. And
Mm.
I so yeah, it works fine. It's amazing how this kills your hunger. I can just eat 1 meal a day and go to the next day and not even think about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
so now it's like, do I really need a full hour for lunch? Because I was like, I could be getting work done, and a lot of times I just work through it at this point because it's like, yeah, my energy levels are up, and I can't say all my pain's going away, but then again, I am 66, so we'll
Mm.
take it. We'll take it as it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so that I pretty much I'm eating pretty much carnivore, for counting eggs, some cheeses, but eggs, meats, decent fats. I'm still trying to find a way to make mayo that's not soybean oil. I'm working on that one.
Mm.
I know the recipes, but I can't get it to do its thing.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite type of meat?
I'm definitely a steak lover for sure.
Okay.
Um, of course, with me, I'm the only worker in the house, and I have a spouse that's on disability. So it's called what you can afford. But the ribeyes and New York strips is where I usually fall, somewhere around there.
Mm.
And so it is beef for sure. It's my favorite. But I do a ton of chicken. Iraqi style, rather than grilled feathers. But of course, chicken I'll go for the fattier cuts. And actually, the nice thing about beef and pork is the fattier cuts taste better anyway. God knows they're
Yeah.
better on the budget. And I'd rather have a on the bone fatty pork chop than a lean center cut, dry, pure protein but no fat type of meat. So, actually cheaper works out well with this diet. And of course, like 80-20 ground beef instead of the 95-5.
Mm.
And so actually, from a budget standpoint, people tell me all the time, it's like, well, I can't afford that. I was like, you figure how much you're spending on junk and chip. A bag of chips is like $5, $6, $7. Like there's a New York strip, you know.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's almost compromised. Sometimes I think I actually save money eating this way because I do eat cheaper cuts of meats, which is fine because they're usually fattier and tastier anyway. So
Yeah. And now you're eating once a day too, instead of before you were probably
correct,
eating 3 or
correct.
4
Now
times a day.
I will. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes on the weekends I'll eat two meals, because I'm home, so we're together. So
Yeah.
I'll eat two meals that day. But and sometimes we'll go out to eat, and my spouse will eat, and I'll just have a coffee. It's like because I don't feel bad, and it's like, don't you feel bad because you're eating in front of me? It doesn't bother me at all, you know.
Mm.
So and the payoff's been way worth than what it was before. So I'll take the health part
Yeah. How
because you
about,
really.
oh, go ahead. No,
Oh
go
no,
ahead.
I was like, you really don't miss it. You do get used to this, and I don't think it's like getting
Mm.
used to it. I think it's like just coming back to like, oh, this is how it should be. You know, the
Yeah.
constant highs of the falling asleep a half hour after you eat because your your insulin's this drowning in insulin and glucose. So yeah,
Yeah. I've had people ask me before, like, how can you just eat meat or just eat steak all the time? And it's like, I mean, that's all I know anymore. And I
yeah,
love doing it.
but it's that way too. I always I'm the secrets and the sauce kind of guy. I'll make if I can figure out something that makes with mayonnaise, I will.
Yeah.
I've been eating beef. It's like horseradish in there somewhere. And if I'm having seafood, I'm from Maryland, so Maryland seafood. Of course, you're from you're just below me, so
Yeah.
seafood. And mayonnaise with Old Bay, mayonnaise with horseradish, and whatever. But yes, there's so many ways to fix meats. You know, so even if I have an occasional veg, you can instead of having a Brussels sprout, why don't you saute them in olive oil and add bacon and add Parmesan, and if my mom made vegetables like that, I would eat them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to ask about drink. Do you
Mhm.
basically just drink water or do you add anything else in?
I drink water. I'll use heavy cream for my coffee. So I drink coffee a lot, way more than I should. I drink water and I drink iced tea. Now, since I do have to watch oxalates, I'll make my tea like a concentrated batch of 2 gallons, put in the fridge, and I'll literally water that 2 gallons down to six by the time I drink it all, because just to kind of thin it out for the oxalates. But I'll drink iced tea. So iced tea, water, heavy cream, and coffee in an obscene amount. But I've always drank coffee since I was a youngster, so
Yeah. Okay.
it's actually slacking down. There were days in the mornings when I used to work, I'd drink a whole pot in the morning. So
Oh, wow.
that's that's gone away. Now it's like 2 cups. I'm good.
Okay. How about exercise? Do you do any type of exercise, working out or walking or anything like that?
Walking is my thing. Since I'm a tech, like now I'm covering a hospital system that is literally I'm walking just thousands of steps a day
Mm.
because I fix machinery. So I'm constantly all over the accounts, and so I don't have a desk job. I couldn't do a desk job; it would drive me crazy. And that's why they've offered me management too many times. I've turned it down too many times because I just don't want to be I don't want to be at a desk. So I get most of mine is walking. It really is, and my knees won't let me jog. That's from past life.
Mm.
And working in the construction industry and just being so heavy so long that my knees just won't take it. But I probably could and would or should do some, weightlifting probably would do me some good. But I have a gym right next to me. I just can't afford the prices. So. But walking is my big thing, and that keeps me. I just do a lot of walking.
Yeah. So you
So
mentioned that you are out of town a lot. What
mhm.
what do you do to try and stay clean while you're out of
Right.
town?
Yeah, well, like here, I came here tonight and I didn't go out to eat. Maybe I could on my company's dime, but I brought like chicken thighs. I brought hard-boiled eggs, and I brought some hard cheeses. And actually tonight I just had the chicken thighs. And if I go out, it'll be a steakhouse. And of course, it's like, we keep the bread, keep all that stuff. I just want the steak and maybe some mushrooms, some sauteed mushrooms. That's it. That's literally what I'll eat. Or if it's seafood, the same thing. Give me the salmon without the sides. And
Mhm.
so I just stay that way. And same way if I go out to breakfast, it'll be like bacon, ham, and cheese omelet, or something like that. And none of the toast and the potatoes and all that stuff comes with it. And it just seems so natural to me now. I mean, it really does. How fast you adjust. And I
Yeah.
keep saying adjust, and it sounds like it's a bad thing, like you're like, but it just feels so normal and natural now. And of course, I see more and more people doing it. So as you don't get that kind of like, oh, okay, you're doing low carb, okay, cool. You don't get that kind of odd look I used to get,
Yeah.
and like Atkins, because that was the only thing around at the time. But obviously, things are changing slowly, which is good for everyone.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up. Um, yes, I think it was yesterday. I was watching TV with my wife, and there was a Hallmark Christmas movie on. It's Christmas time, so they had their
Oh,
Christmas movies
yeah.
on, and the it was this guy and this lady, and the lady had some Chinese food or something, and she offered to the guy, and he said, "No, I'm doing keto." And that was the
Uh,
first time like I have heard that in a movie. So I
that's
think
what
that's pretty cool. That's kind of bringing it more mainstream. More people are
exactly.
recognizing it.
Oh yeah, yeah, I see it because I mean, I go to some regular places that the waitresses, I mean, they know what I want, but I don't get the kind of look anymore. It's like, yeah, I'll have like the double bacon cheeseburger, but you just keep the bun, just put it on a plate. You give me the lettuce and tomato, whatever, but just put it on a plate, and they don't, doesn't bother them anymore. So I think they're seeing it more and more, which I'm
Yeah.
glad because people get away from the junk for sure. I
Yeah.
have many, many, many years behind me of that stuff. I know what it can do. And of course, I see a lot of people. A lot of people ask me, and I talk to a lot of people, and I don't volunteer it unless they seem to be interested. But I always thought, like, just kind of be the example. I don't kind of beat anybody up for it. And people ask, but I say all the younger people ask, and I was like, yeah, they say no, they're fine, but I say, what you have on your side right now is youth, but that
Mhm.
weight you can carry at 20, at 40, you're going to realize what it's doing to you. So
Right.
if you can, nip it in the bud ahead of time, you'll do much better in the long run. But I think I had a calcium score. It's 0, which is fantastic,
Mhm.
and
It's
I
great.
always recommend that to everyone. That one. And so yeah, so I kind of like the proofs in the pudding. I mean, I would love to be doing like what you're doing, helping other people. Nice that people like yourself had a platform to get it out here because there's so much. One of the things that have been going on lately about posting is like all the so-called keto products that are on the market now.
Mm.
I don't know if we can say any trade names. I'll just say a certain tortilla company. We won't mention any names. Keto approved, keto friendly. You look at the ingredients, and it's the same exact ingredients that the other ones are, but we throw in some wood pulp fiber, so now we can do the math and say, look, it's only 2 grams of that carbs. And I was like, yeah, that's like saying I'm going to take a pint of Haagen Dazs and throw in some wood chips, and now we're good to go.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. The fiber in broccoli might do that. Throwing some fiber into something that's just tragically bad does not make it keto. And there's so much of it out there. It's kind of like the latest. The market. Market's following the trend. They see what's happening, and so they like we need to make some more money for what we're losing. So we're going to make some keto products, but unfortunately, a lot of them just are not. I've always been a little iffy on the net carb thing. You know,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
some of it is valid and a lot of it is not valid as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Okay. Um, let's talk a little bit about family and friends.
Mhm.
Do you get normally like really good vibes from them, or do they kind of say things like, you really shouldn't do that. That's going to hurt your health, eating that way. How does that happen or work? I should say.
Surprisingly, I do not. I think because I have such a long history of going on, showing that, look, I just lost 100 pounds. Oh, look, how come you gained it all back? Well, I ate this. I did it again, ate this, did it again. So obviously they see it works, and I have such a long history of it. I don't hear it from family. Actually, I have a fair amount of family that has followed it, but not as
Hmm.
religiously, I guess, as I have. Um, but that's like my spouse, who I keep trying to drag along. Drag along. You choose your battles, and
Yeah.
but by the same token, has done fairly well. So I can't really complain there. But yeah, I have in-laws that are totally fine, and said no. And people know it's like, oh, you're coming. What are you eating nowadays? And what I'll do too is also take things. Obviously, oh, we're going to have a dinner for 8. Let me bring these 3 or 4 things that and they're always like low carb keto things like deviled eggs or something like that, and that way I can indulge in more of what I brought than what might be there. But no, I know a lot of people do get that problem with a lot of people, but I have not had it. I'm one of the lucky ones that hasn't run into it. And it might just because I have such a long history of this. I just
Yeah.
need to control myself from falling off the wagon. I look at this like alcohol. I am like an alcoholic. You know what I mean? It's like once too many, 1,000's not enough. And if I were to sit down and have a Haagen-Dazs tomorrow, it'd be over. It really would. But that's a personal thing. That's not everybody's struggle. But
Right.
I'm kind of like perfectionist in that sense. And that's not a little therapy wouldn't work out.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so Carl, let me ask you if there was something that you could say to the audience today, if there's somebody out there that is thinking whether or not they should try and eat this way or not, how would you try and talk to them about that? What would you say?
Well, first of all, I can just say, my personal experience. I've seen it, the proofs in the pudding. Having done it 4 times, even though it was not good for me, it just proved to me over and over and over again how this works and how well it works. Also, read some good. I have a few favorites. I don't know if who we're allowed to mention on this show, but people work like Gary Taubes' books and Robert Lustig's work out of UFC San Francisco, and some of these other doctors and endocrinologists that really study this and read the good books. I mean, I could recommend tons of them. The ones that are really well written, well researched, and give it a shot. It can be hard. I mean, there's no doubt. It's like coming off of it's like having DTS. It's like coming off a drug. And if you're a hardcore sugar addict, it takes some adjustment, and you may fail. But the thing is, I'm proof of the pudding. Fail, get back up, try again. Fail, get back up, try again. Once you get to that point where you start seeing some results, obviously that's motivation for you. And of course, get around like-minded people, of course, because everyone, misery loves company. So anyone that's not ready to do it will always try to, keep you in the fold, as it were.
Mm.
And so read good studies, give it a shot, talk to people who've done it, like us, and I think join a community. Community. It's like the old Weight Watchers thing. Community does work. I don't know if their process works, but the community does work, and it's kind of like I stay in it. I think what's helped me too is staying in it and talking to other people. I see things like your posts and a lot of other posts I see, and I'm on various keto carb sites, and it helps to have if you're involved in it every day. It kind of keeps your enthusiasm up, obviously, and if you can stay involved long enough that you start feeling it and seeing it for yourself, then you know the proof. Like I said, I would keep saying the proof's in the pudding, but yeah, there's tons of good studies out there. And of course, there's so much garbage out there because obviously, it's a marketing thing. People are losing market share and people are losing product
Mm.
sales, and that's why, like I said, these keto products that are coming out that, unfortunately, I would say I don't know what the percentage is, but it's pretty high that just are not. It's just another marketing term. and you really need to do the better research on how your metabolism works, how insulin, what metabolic, syndrome is, and how insulin, is key to everything. But that has to be done, with realistic studies and realistic reading, not just whatever comes along. Because I mean, there's people keep saying keto's a fad, and of course we know keto is pretty much probably the best way you can eat and the most natural way you can eat. And I've gotten so as I evolved, I got into intermittent fasting because that's a great way to kill a stall. But it's also just you realize that you know you don't need to eat 3, 4, 5 times a day. The old, I guess I don't know when it came out, maybe in the '80s, the idea of grazing all day. But if you graze all day, your insulin never stops.
Yeah.
So you're constantly, carrying over insulin. So when do you get any time to burn fat if you're constantly grazing? I guess they went by the idea that it keeps your metabolism up, but I think was it Jason Fung's? He wrote some good books on fasting, and he's saying they're saying that actually your metabolism increases after so many hours of fasting.
Mm.
So that's what some of the latest things I've seen from him. So
Yeah. Do you do any longer term fasting other than just like the normal 18-hour or
I
24-hour?
I'm there. I want to. Yeah, I've done 18 and 24, and I really do want to. I just have to work it into my family lifestyle. But yeah,
Mm.
I really do want to try. I would like to go up to a 36 and a 48 and even a 72. I mean, I read some really good things about fleshing out cell regeneration and some just kind of getting rid of some waste products, and I think that would be. I would like to try it. And I think it really will be easy peasy. Because I sometimes go with 24. I'm like, yeah, I'll eat because I probably should, but not like because I'm hungry or famished. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, I probably should eat something. So I do. And I've realized, like, nah, I can go 36 without a problem. I probably could go 48 without a problem. So
Yeah.
it's not like I'm come at the end of the day after 24 and I'm like famished. I'm just like, yeah, just try to eat. I'll eat.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've been
I think that's where I'm going next is to there to 36 and 48. See what that does.
okay. Yeah, I've
If that
been
goes well.
playing around with it a little bit myself lately. And the thing I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed is that once you get to 24 hours, it tends to be pretty easy to stick with it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, that's everything I read too, and I like to get up to 72. I mean, I'm looking at some of the things just beyond dropping insulin, losing weight, some of the other things that happen on a cellular level, and some of the clean out processes that can come about
Yeah.
by doing that. I can't remember the name. It's like auto what? You tell me. I can't remember the term.
Autophagy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I read some good things about that. So I was like, and I look at different charts and like, this starts at 18 hours, this starts at 24, this starts at 36, but I see kind of variation.
Yeah.
So, but I think you would cover your bases if you want 48 or 72.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I want to go next probably. Yeah, you do it. I would do it as like, why not, and see where it goes. And if it turns out to be a positive, then obviously it's something I could work in. I mean, I don't know if people will do it every 3 days, but it might be something you can squeeze into your schedule once a week or once every other week, or
Hmm.
to see where it goes. So that's kind of like my next challenge, just to see the good of it, because I've conquered the other part. That's the
Yeah.
weight loss is good, and the off the drugs is good. The pain, that's just me being old, but yeah, comes with the territory, I guess. But it's not nearly what it was, obviously.
Yeah. All right.
But I'm just glad to be off the meds. I'm glad to not have reflux. Oh my god! I mean, I just had terrible reflux. Absolutely horrendous.
Mm.
Just living on Prilosec and all those kind of things. And of course, there was probably worse for you because my understanding from some reading is that it's actually a lack of acid in your stomach that might be causing some of that. You hear about people taking vinegar and stuff like that to actually avoid reflux. You think it's really counterintuitive, but I
Mm.
haven't tried it. But then again, I don't need it anymore. But so I don't know where that lies in reality.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Carl, this has been a great conversation. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm glad.
I think that it would be great to maybe, I don't know, a few months, 6 months from now, get together again and kind of see how you're
Sure.
doing and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like that. And And my goal was to work on the extended fasting because that's where I wanted to go next. So
Yeah, we can have an update on that then. That'd be great.
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
All
just
right.
make sure I didn't fall off the wagon. I'm not 80 pounds up, right? So,
Yeah.